Kobini is a wannabe goody two-shoes girl who fell from a cliff while playing and is about to die when a dog spirit sacrificed half of his own powers to keep her alive and patched her up with spiritual energy. Years later, the dog spirit named Hakuya shows up at her doorstep as her fiancé along with his midget sister to live together. However, before any of this, one day, Kobini has a dream in which she is lounging under the sun in a lush forest. The sun shines on her warmly and she wakes up wondering what kind of dream she had. She then pulls back her curtains, only to reveal the town and its houses covered in snow, which excites her a lot. As she begins to get ready, she thinks about how it's her 16th birthday, however she doesn't feel much difference in her life. At the same time, a girl named Mashiro heads towards Kobini's house and excitedly yaps to herself that she needs to give a first good impression. Kobini heads out of her room and is greeted by her sister Binio, who hugs her to wish her a happy birthday. She immediately takes her to the breakfast table, where there is a birthday cake waiting for her, right off the bat. She eats the cake and tells Binio that she wants to become an admirable lady like her, which makes Binio want to jump off the roof with joy. Their mother Akane joins them as well, and after wishing her a happy birthday, she informs her that she has something to tell her. She then reveals that some of their grandfather's friends are coming to stay at their house from now on and points her towards a guy named Hakuya who is already standing near them. She then throws a bomb on her head that Hakuya is actually her fiancé and that the arrangement was decided by her grandfather a long time ago. Kobini cannot believe that her family is forcing her into such a relationship at this day and age and argues with Akane and Binio about it, but they advise her to think about it. Binio then asks Hakuya his thoughts on the marital arrangement and he comments that he knew about it since a long time ago. Kobini becomes even more angry to see his nonchalant behavior and then storms out of the room. She reminds herself that Hakuya must have been forced as well and that he doesn't deserve such rude behavior. Just then, someone arrives at the door and Kobini opens the door to reveal Hakuya's sister Mashiro. Kobini shows her inside and Mashiro declares that she has come to check up on Hakuya since her brother is pretty absent-minded. Akane agrees to house her as well, ignoring Kobini's protests, and the girls serve her cake and some milk. Mashiro finds the cake delicious, especially since she has never eaten cake before, and Binio offers to accompany her to the nearby bakery to buy more sweets. Mashiro acts like a little brave warrior as she tells Binio that she doesn't want to indulge in their kindness and then drinks milk like a kid. She declares that she has come to whip Kobini into the perfect shape for becoming a bride, and Binio argues with her that she shouldn't focus too much on Kobini since her own brother is a total NPC without any presence. Both girls start arguing with one another while Kobini thinks about how unprepared they are to accommodate 2 more guests in the house. She declares that she is going out to buy more groceries and then storms out. Once she is outside the house, she slips on the slippery road and Hakuya catches her, which prevents her from falling. He offers to accompany her to the store and she accepts his offer since she has to buy a lot of stuff. As they both head towards the store, he reveals that they both used to play together as children, and she explains to him that she was involved in an accident as a kid, due to which all her memories before the accident are all wiped. He then pats her head in response, which makes her feel even more embarrassed. Meanwhile, Akane shows Mashiro her room and the little midget Mashiro checks the dusting of the room to point out any dirty areas. Binio appears behind her and warns her that she shouldn't try to bully Kobini too much, otherwise she will bully her in return. She then runs after Mashiro to cuddle with her, and Mashiro rushes out of the room only to jump on Hakuya, who has just returned from his shopping. Kobini then gets down to making food and Mashiro advises her that Hakuya doesn't speak a lot but his intentions are good. She explains that Hakuya has always known about the marriage, due to which he is fine with the arrangement, and that such arranged marriages are common in the mountains where they have come from. Later they all sit down to eat curry made by Kobini, and Mashiro finds it too spicy. After dinner, Kobini approaches Mashiro in her room and finds her sitting too close to the TV. Mashiro has never seen TV before and Kobini puts her at a safe distance away from the screen. She learns what Mashiro likes and dislikes to eat and then asks Hakuya about his food preferences. The smooth charmer shares that he can eat anything she makes, and she then heads out feeling more flustered than before. Mashiro also comes out to see her reaction and Binio runs after her before she can tease Kobini. The next morning, Mashiro lectures Hakuya on how to spend his day at school since he is not familiar with city life. She asks Kobini to take care of her brother and then heads out to school on her own. Kobini and Hakuya walk to school together and Kobini's friend Mayura joins them midway. Hakuya introduces himself as Kobini's fiancé right off the bat, and Kobini explains to her that her grandfather's word is considered law in their family. As they head to school together, Kobini strictly instructs Hakuya to not tell anyone else about their arrangement in order to avoid any weird rumors. When they reach school, Kobini drops Hakuya at the staff room and then heads to her class with Mayura. However, after a while the teacher arrives and informs everyone that Hakuya is transferring into their class. She also announces another transfer student and it turns out to be Mashiro. Kobeni drags her out and demands to know how it's possible for her to transfer in her class considering she is very young in age. Mashiro tells her to not underestimate her Mitsumine family's influence and they both watch as Binio passes by. Binio is in fact the student council president of the school who is also very famous for being athletic and good in studies. A bunch of students trail after her and Mashiro cannot believe that a pervert like her is so famous and well-liked. Kobeni recalls that people flocked around her a lot when she entered the school because she was Binio's sister and she feels very proud of her sister for all her accomplishments. Mashiro storms away in tears and Mayura and Kobeni begin to look around for her, thinking that she must have gotten lost. Kobeni doesn't find her anywhere and after a while she comes across Hakuya who tells her that she is her own person, and not like Binio. She thinks about the meaning behind his words and just then Mashiro appears on Hakuya's back. They all then head back to their class. Back at home, Mashiro confronts Kobeni because she still cannot believe that Binio is such a popular student in school. She thinks that people must be mistaken about Binio but Kobeni assures her that Binio is a top-rated student with a lot of good qualities. Binio appears in front of Mashiro and starts to tease her for ignoring her at school. She tells her that she would have invited her to the clubroom and offered all kinds of top-class sweets to her like scones. Mashiro feels tempted by the invitation and then runs away after being teased so relentlessly. Kobeni then asks Binio how a grade schooler was able to shift to high school and Binio reveals that Mitsumine family has been around for ages but she doesn't know any more information about them. Later Mashiro finds Hakuya playing games by himself and she advises him to talk to Kobeni to get to know her better. Kobeni then finds Mashiro searching on her phone and Mashiro reveals that her parents gave them a phone when they were leaving the mountains. Mashiro searches for English desserts on her phone and feels regret that she couldn't eat them at Binio's clubroom. Kobeni offers to make the desserts for her and Mashiro compliments her by calling her a capable wife. Later Kobeni makes dinner for the family and tells Mashiro that she does the household chores because Akane is busy with her job while Binio is poor with the chores. Mashiro then notices that she is making steak that night which makes her really happy just like a typical child. Later they all sit down to eat dinner and Mashiro gushes over the dinner like a kid. She explains to Kobeni that they only used to eat typical Japanese foods at their house and Kobeni tells her that she doesn't have any memories of their place. Mashiro asks her whether she doesn't remember the incident she was involved in but before she can speak any further, Hakuya stops her and tells her to focus on her food. Kobeni tries asking her about the incident again but Hakuya informs her that it was nothing. After dinner, Hakuya instructs Mashiro to not discuss the past with Kobeni and she argues with him that he was hurt in the incident as well. She believes that Kobeni should be thankful to him since she is only alive thanks to him and he argues with her that he didn't do his job properly due to which she got hurt. Mashiro believes that they should tell Kobeni about the incident to make her feel indebted to them so that she can agree to the marriage but Hakuya believes that she should only marry him if he wants to. He also instructs her not to tell Kobeni about his injury and she cannot believe that he has the brains to think things through. Later, Kobeni searches up ingredients to make dessert for Mashiro and decides to go to the shopping mart the next day. Meanwhile, Mashiro watches a scary show about aliens which spooks her out a lot and she jumps on Hakuya to protect herself. Kobeni wonders what Mashiro wanted to tell her and heads to her room to ask her. Just then, Mashiro storms out of her room and Kobeni runs after her. She makes her sit in the TV lounge and Mashiro bombards her with all kinds of questions about the aliens. Kobeni warms up some milk for her and tells her about the concept of aliens, which freaks her out a lot. She thinks that the aliens will abduct her if she drinks milk and then rushes back to her room. Mashiro fails to get a chance to talk to her about her past and later when she is about to sleep, she wonders about the whole incident. She recalls that her grandfather definitely took her to the mountains and that she even saw some kind of big house but then falls asleep before she can remember anything else. The next morning she wakes up and wonders about the same thing all over again. She then heads to school with Hakuya and Mashiro and thinks that Hakuya won't tell her anything. She directly reaches out to Mashiro and asks her about the past incident but Mashiro declares that she doesn't know anything. Since she is bad at lying, she avoids meeting her eye and even starts crying when Kobeni pressurizes her due to which Kobeni lets the topic go. When they arrive at their class, Kobeni puts bandages on Mashiro's knees because she had scraped them on the way and Mayura finds Mashiro really cute. She shares with Mashiro that Kobeni really takes care of her health because she believes that anything she overeats makes her gain weight really fast. She even points out that Kobeni always gains weight in her chest area and Kobeni starts whining about her big talents which cause her trouble wherever she goes. Mashiro feels jealous of her because she has no such talents and Binio appears in their class after overhearing such an interesting topic. She declares that plot size does not matter and a bunch of students appear behind her to worship her. Mashiro declares for the 100th time that Binio's popularity doesn't make any sense, and she even starts to make theories that Binio must be an alien who uses supernatural powers to hypnotize people. Mayura finds her even cuter and shows her the school monthly magazine which lists down Binio's achievements during the month. Mashiro cannot believe that Binio is capable of achieving so much in just 1 month, and she theorizes that Binio must have multiple clones who work for her. Binio overhears her comments and teases her that she must hear a lot, due to which she is making such conspiracy theories about her. She teases Mashiro that she must call her big sister, but Mashiro refuses to call her such a thing. The student council vice president Kashima finally steps in and drags Binio outside while an army of people follow after her. Mayura asks Kobini whether the siblings live under her roof, and she tells her the truth, which makes Mayura comment that it's just like a comic story for two fiancés to live together. Kobini advises Mayura to not tell anyone about their arrangement, but Mashiro argues with her that there is nothing wrong with telling anyone that they live under the same roof. She speaks so loudly that other students overhear her comment, and they start discussing how Hakuya and Mashiro are living with the great Binio. Kobini knew that such information would cause a ruckus, but she feels glad that at least the students do not know about her engagement with Hakuya. One morning, Binio shares her latest dream with Kashima, in which she returned from a trip on her horse and both Kobini and Mashiro ran to greet her. They complained to her that they missed her a lot and then hugged her. She vows to Kashima that she will make her dream true, and Kashima only shuts off her phone in response. The family gathers at the breakfast table, and Mashiro eats a Western-style breakfast for the time, which makes her fangirl like a kid. She asks for more bread and milk, and Binio pesters her about the dream that she had. Hakuya picks up Mashiro and tells Binio to stop messing around with Mashiro, since she cannot handle people who are more stubborn and selfish than her. Mashiro starts to whine that Hakuya is not on her side, and Akane then asks him what he would like to have for breakfast. Hakuya informs them that he likes everything that Kobini makes, and Binio almost pukes in response. They all head to school together and Mayura joins them midway. Kobini shares that she is going to make scones during the weekend, and Mashiro becomes excited to hear this till Kobini reveals that Binio has also been looking forward to the scones. Later at school, the girls have a PE period and Kobini feels anxious since she isn't good at sports. Mayura advises her to relax a little, and they all watch as Hakuya takes his position as the goalie in his handball team. The offender rushes at him but becomes confused by Hakuya's blunt stance and loses the ball to Hakuya. Kobini's turn comes next, and she participates in a jumping game only to fail miserably at it. Up next, she rushes around the gym, and even though she doesn't realize it, a lot of guys watch her run around because she is pretty famous among them. Mayura shares with Mashiro that she is surprised that Binio even let Kobini's fiancé enter the house, and that it must be due to their grandfather's decision. Even Mashiro starts to think that Kobini is a girl of many qualities, and when Kobini returns to her position, she thanks Kobini for tolerating her and her useless brother. Later at class, Kobini solves a study problem on the board while Mashiro thinks about how Kobini is a perfect package since she is good at studying as well as house chores. She notices other guys leering at her and making remarks at her good looks while Hakuya remains seated at his place completely zoned out. Mashiro appears behind him and kicks his seat to bring him to reality. She then drags him outside and tells her to focus on Kobini or else someone will steal her. Binio arrives at their class and extends a formal invitation to Mashiro to her club by giving her a letter. Mashiro likes the letter, but when she reads the invitation inside, she rips up the letter without finishing it. Kashima then stops Binio from escalating her plans and tells Mashiro that she is welcome to their club whenever she wants to come. She reveals that they have suites available too, and Mashiro immediately agrees to go with her. Mashiro then tells the others to head back home without her as she heads to the council room with Binio and her team. Mayura also heads on her own way to do some tasks, leaving Kobini and Hakuya alone with each other. They head home together and Kobini tries to think of something to say but cannot come up with anything. She then tells him to head home on his own since she has to buy some ingredients for scones, and Hakuya offers to come with her. He explains that he doesn't want to leave her alone and doesn't want her to carry heavy things, which makes her think that he is her dad. They both head to the shopping mart together and she thinks to herself that he may not be that bad after all. Meanwhile, Kashima serves Mashiro some tea and biscuits which she eats with delight. Simultaneously, Binio absorbs the whole scenery and feels like she only needs to have Kobini at her side now make her dream come true. After eating everything, Mashiro heads back and Binio learns that she only came for around 10 minutes. She then starts to work on beast mode after getting all the juice from Mashiro's latest visit, and another council member Konoha arrives at the club room. She learns that Binio especially sent Mashiro a handwritten letter and invited her to the club room, which makes her really jealous. Kobeni and Hakuya arrive at the store and Hakuya decides to jump in the middle of some ladies who are fighting for a sale item. He barely manages to get away with his life and Kobeni also buys some plates for Hakuya and Mashiro considering that they have come to stay for a long time. She then leaves the mart and finds Hakuya waiting for her, barely breathing. They arrive home and Mashiro chit-chats to Kobeni about her day at the council room. Kobeni also shows her the bowls she bought for her and Hakuya and Mashiro excitedly takes them inside to show it to Hakuya. She yaps endlessly that they need to thank the family as well and Hakuya then gives a box to Akane as a thank you gift. The next morning, Kobeni wakes up to find Binio sleeping right beside her. She greets her casually and then gets up to start her day. Binio then calls Kashima to whine to her that Kobeni didn't react to her presence even though she used to follow after her all day every day when she was a kid. She also whines to Mashiro endlessly but Mashiro declares that she doesn't care about her complaints. Mashiro later tells Hakuya that she hates Sundays because she has to interact with Binio all day. She then begins dancing when a song comes up on TV and Hakuya shows her a letter which came from their home. The letter asks them whether they are okay and whether Mashiro is eating sticky food now which makes Mashiro declare that she will reply to the letter herself. Kobeni then bakes some scones for Mashiro and Mashiro follows the sweet smell into the kitchen. Kobeni then feeds everyone the sweets and Binio teases Mashiro for leaving some crumbs on her mouth. Once everyone is done, Mashiro yaps about how delicious the scones were and she points out that Hakuya never eats sweets but he finished all the sweets that were made by Kobeni. Later, Kobeni approaches Binio in her room and asks her why she isn't opposed to her engagement with Hakuya even though she has always been against her dating. Binio informs her that in the past, she fell from a cliff when she was staying at Hakuya's house and Hakuya jumped after her. He ended up saving her life but he also got hurt due to her. Afterwards, he somehow made his way back to the house and rescued her. Binio believes that she cannot forget his favor and that she cannot meddle with their grandfather's ways while Kobeni starts to realize that she shouldn't have forgotten such an important memory. The next morning, Kobeni wakes up, feeling upset that she forgot everything about her accident. She wonders whether she should apologize to Hakuya or thank him for saving her. Just then, she tries getting up but feels really dizzy. She then takes a sick day off from school and resigns to her bed while Binio washes the dishes that morning. She tells Mashiro that Kobeni is sick and that her body is weak due to which she often gets sick. She also tells her that she told Kobeni about the incident and Mashiro scolds her for sharing such information with Kobeni since Hakuya specifically instructed her not to share anything. Binio shares with her that she was originally supposed to accompany her grandfather to the mountains but she wanted to be with her friends due to which she made Kobeni accompany him instead. She entirely blames herself for Kobeni's accident and Kobeni overhears the conversation. She barges inside and tells Binio not to blame herself since it wasn't her fault. She then shuts the door but feels very dizzy and collapses on the floor. They deposit Kobeni on her bed and Binio makes breakfast for everyone. Hakuya learns that Binio has told Kobeni about the incident and he believes that she didn't do the right thing since Kobeni fell ill after hearing about it. Binio then serves them breakfast which looks like it was delivered straight from hell. She explains that Akane cannot make breakfast for them due to her job and that she wanted to repent for her mistake by making some food for them. Fearing for her life, Mashiro barges inside Kobeni's room and apologizes for taking her for granted all this time. Mashiro shares that Hakuya is also feeling very gloomy and Kobeni feels regret that she cannot face Hakuya just yet. Binio calls Kashima and whines to her that she was supposed to be her sister's protector but she let her down by putting her needs over hers. Kashima consoles her that Kobeni doesn't blame her and that she should stop feeling guilty and overprotective over her sister. Meanwhile, Kobeni burns in her favor and she recalls an event in which she felt the same. She recalls that once she was lying at the foot of a cliff but she felt like she was safe because something soft was with her. The next morning, Kobeni still feels sick and doesn't go to school. When Binio tells the others about her condition, Hakuya offers to stay with her to look after Kobeni. Binio argues with him that she cannot let two minors stay alone at a house especially since they are engaged. Mashiro reminds him that it's dangerous for him to leave her alone with Binio as well and he insists to Binio that he wants to stay. She explains that they can do perverted things if they are alone and Mashiro asks her what she means by that. Binio starts fangirling over her cute questions and she declares that she will stay with Kobeni. She then tells Kobeni about her decision but gets yelled at by Kobeni who instructs her to leave her alone and to go to school. Mashiro then drags away Hakuya as well and they all head to school. Back at school, Mashiro informs Mayura that Kobeni is still sick and Mayura reveals that Kobeni often falls sick in the same way from time to time. Mayura then offers Mashiro a snack to fill her stomach and they both notice that Hakuya seems very depressed. Meanwhile, Kobeni feels even more feverish and thirsty but she doesn't have the energy to get up to feed herself. She dozes in and out, and after a while, Mashiro appears to help her out. Kobeni slides off her shirt and Mashiro wipes away all her sweat with a towel. Kobeni shows her a scar on her back which she got from the incident and reveals that she was unconscious for a month after the month. She wonders whether Hakuya was unconscious too, and Mashiro reveals that she doesn't know much about the incident. She then leaves her to fall asleep, and Kobeni notices Hakuya standing at the door. She says in drowsiness that Hakuya reminds her of a large dog and then falls asleep. The next morning, she prepares to get ready for school since she feels much better. She greets everyone, and when Hakuya enters the kitchen, she feels awkward around him, due to which she doesn't meet his eye. He feels hurt and thinks that she hates him now, due to which he storms away from the house. Kobeni runs after him and finds him sitting at a bench outside looking like the Dark Lord of Hell. She apologizes to him for injuring him as a kid, and he apologizes to her for not being able to protect her. He insists that it was his fault, and she thanks him for saving her life. She then comments that they should call it even since they will keep debating about who was at fault, and he gives her a smile in return which makes her virgin heart flutter. They both then head to school, even though it has already started. Mashiro finds them midway and reveals that she pulled some strings to convert their first period to a study hall. She refuses to explain what kind of strings she pulled, and they all then head to school. Kobeni points out that Hakuya can run pretty fast, and Mashiro blurts out that he even came to the town on foot, but then tells Kobeni to forget her statement. They reach their school, and Binio almost loses her mind as she wonders what happened between Kobeni and Hakuya. Kobeni shared with Mayura about her past accident, and Mayura tells her that she and Hakuya must be soulmates since their fates seemed linked. Kobeni shares with her that she now wants to know Hakuya a bit better. Mayura then approaches Hakuya and asks him what he likes or dislikes, which makes him blurt out loud that he likes Kobeni. Kobeni hides behind the door in embarrassment, and Hakuya insists that he only likes Kobeni. Kobeni tells him to act a little sane, and she seems to understand his facial expressions, while the others around them think that Hakuya is only showing one kind of expression. Mashiro argues with Kobeni that Kobeni was the first person that Hakuya met in the mountains, due to which he likes her a lot. She tells her to just accept his love since they have a lot of family issues to deal with as well, and that Hakuya will forever stay single if their engagement doesn't go through. Meanwhile, Binio wonders how Hakuya was able to run away from their home so fast, even if he is good at running. Kashima advises her to stop interfering in Kobeni's matters or else she will end up hating her, but Binio doesn't take her advice seriously. Later at night, Kobeni cooks dinner for everyone, which is a godsend relief for everyone. She asks Binio where Hakuya's home is, but Binio doesn't know about it either. Simultaneously, Mashiro and Hakuya discuss that Hakuya needs to get more close with Kobeni before he can share details about his household. An arrow comes flying inside through the window, and Hakuya easily catches it. It contains an attached letter with it, and Hakuya opens the letter only to reveal that someone from their family is soon coming to visit. One day, Binio orders some cat pajamas for Mashiro and makes her wear them. She then tries to take her picture, and when Mashiro runs away from her, she runs after her like a stalker. Kobeni asks Hakuya how old Mashiro is, but he refuses to tell her Mashiro's age. He then pokes her cheek to distract her, and she becomes embarrassed at their contact. Mashiro spots their awkwardness, and Kobeni then asks her how old she is, but she also doesn't give her a straight answer. When Kobeni insists, Mashiro confesses to her that she is actually 10 years old, even though she looks young for her age. Kobeni wonders how Mashiro was able to enter high school at that age, and Mashiro starts sweating because she doesn't know how to lie to her. Kobeni then assumes that Mashiro must be really smart, due to which she skipped grades and entered high school before her age. Mashiro lets her remain in the Delyalu land, and Kobeni reminds her of the upcoming test that they have. Mashiro begins to panic since she didn't know about the test, and Kobeni reminds her that they have to do well in the test. She explains that she wants to be the best because she doesn't want to be a burden on Binio's image, and Hakuya stops her from saying that she is a burden. He then pats her head and tells her that someone from their family is soon coming to visit. Mashiro explains that a relative is coming to observe Kobeni as well as Mashiro's own eating habits, and she worries that the upcoming relative will probably only focus on Mashiro's eating. Kobeni begins to panic that there aren't enough dishes at her house and that she would have to make multiple arrangements for the upcoming guests. Binio notices all the talk going on and feels jealous of Hakuya, who gets to interact with her sister now. Kashima tells her to get over her petty feelings since Kobeni is a grown girl now, but Binio reminds her that Kobeni used to be the closest to her once upon a time. Mashima comments that Kobeni probably cannot talk to her about romantic stuff, although she can probably confide in her about corrupt matters. Mashiro notices that Hakuya is not eating his lunch properly, and when she asks him, the Lord of Smooth Words informs her that he prefers Kobeni's cooking to any other food. Later at home, Mashiro starts to train herself to get used to some of the foods that she used to previously dislike. She puts a cup of natto on her head which she absolutely dislikes, and Kobeni notices that she is wearing a suit that Binio bought for her. She keeps worrying about the potential visitor and Hakuya appears behind her. He pats her head to calm her down and she becomes even more flustered. Meanwhile, Hakuya's mother Shirayuki arrives at the city and tries to find Kobeni's house but becomes lost instead. Kobeni goes to the grocery mart to buy some ingredients for the upcoming guest and she runs into Hakuya there who had come to buy natto for Mashiro. Meanwhile, Shirayuki tries to find her way and ends up at a bakery where she buys a crepe to fill her up. Hakuya and Kobeni get done with their shopping and head back home, but on the way, Kobeni recalls that she needed to buy some more ingredients. She sends Hakuya to their house on his own and heads back to buy the remaining ingredients. At the same time, Shirayuki ends up at different food shops and buys different eateries because she is an impulsive buyer. She then tries to find her way and spots Kobeni in the way, so she asks her for directions. Kobeni tells her to follow her since she is heading towards the same way and even picks up her shopping bags to help her out. They arrive at the same address and just then, Hakuya also senses his mom's presence, so he heads out to greet her. Mashiro rushes to the scene and introduces Shirayuki to Kobeni, which shocks Kobeni on the spot. Binio then welcomes Shirayuki inside and offers her some tea while Kobeni remains frozen at the door. Binio starts to make and Kobeni realizes that she will poison the whole family to death, so she rushes to the kitchen to make tea herself. She then serves Shirayuki some tea and informs her that Akane is away on a job. Shirayuki reveals that she has met Akane once at a train station but she has never visited their house. She then takes out some croissants to eat with the tea and some natto packages for Mashiro to eat. Mashiro collapses on her knees and admits to her that she lied, that she can eat everything now. She then explains to everyone that their family has had a rough time finding brides due to which their family has grown very small in size and that Hakuya also used up a lot of his powers when he saved her in the past. Mashiro rushes to her side and tells her that they have not informed the others about their family secret. Shirayuki in return asks them whether they really do not know that they are not humans, which shocks the others. Kobeni recalls the day of her accident once again when she came across something supernatural in the forest, but her memories still remain fuzzy. She starts to develop a headache while Shirayuki explains to Binio that their family is called beasts or spirits by everyone else. Suddenly Kobeni collapses on the floor and Hakuya tries to rush to her side, but Binio pushes him to the side. She takes Kobeni inside her room and lays her on her bed. She tells everyone that Kobeni is feeling frail after absorbing all the information and Hakuya blames himself for her condition. After a while, Shirayuki visits Kobeni in her room and tells her she was in such a grave condition after her accident that Hakuya gave half of his powers to her to save her life. She explains that the inhuman powers make her sick every so often, due to which she needs to rest to recover, and then asks her for forgiveness. When she leaves her room, Hakuya and Mashiro scold her for being a blabbermouth and she instructs Binio to not tell anyone their secret, otherwise their habitat may be taken away from them. She then declares that she is heading back and that she had only come to pay a visit. She bids everyone a goodbye and then jumps on the houses to make her way back. Kobeni also gets up and spots Shirayuki on her balcony. Shirayuki tells her that Kobeni once patted Hakuya's head in the past, which made him really happy, and she also thanked her for taking care of him. She then heads back and spots a melon bread seller on the way, which distracts her. Kobeni realizes that Hakuya pats her head because he thinks that she will like the gesture, which makes her feel really embarrassed. Akira returns home and feels surprised to learn that Shirayuki had come to pay a visit. Binio asks her whether she knew about the family's reality, but rather than mentioning the supernatural secret, she asks her whether she knew that Shirayuki was such a hot babe. Akira then visits Kobeni, who asks her whether she knew that Hakuya's family members were not humans. Akira reveals that she knew about their secret and that it was shocking to her as well. However, they wouldn't have been able to save her without their power. The next morning, Mashiro and Hakuya discuss that Shirayuki should not have blurted out their family secret to Kobeni like that. Binio then fetches them and takes them to breakfast, which turns out to be dozens of meat buns made by Akira previously. They all eat breakfast together and soon Kobeni joins them. She asks Hakuya whether they are dogs if they aren't humans, and Mashiro asks her whether she can remember her memories now. Kobeni confesses that she can remember a little now, and Binio becomes excited to think that maybe Mashiro can transform into a furry creature. Mashiro explains that they can transform whenever they are stable and that she isn't a furry creature, which upsets Binio a lot. They all then head to school and Kobeni asks the siblings whether they can transform at will and whether she can see their transformations. Hakuya tells her that she cannot see his transformation and she thinks that he is rejecting her, but he explains that they cannot transform in public. Later at school, Binio confides in Kashima and endlessly yaps about how Shirayuki was such a babe. Kobeni's class gets their test results back and Hakuya scores the highest marks despite looking like a brainless ape. He explains that he doesn't have anything else to do other than studying, and Kobeni asks Mashiro about her test scores, thinking that she must have scored high as well since she is Theta. Mashiro reveals that she barely passed in the test, and taking Kobeni outside, she informs her that she has the ability to slip and blend into the crowd. She explains that she didn't really just skip grades but only blended in with the classmates, due to which she does not know the course academically. Kobeni compliments her skills and calls her out that she is still pretty smart for passing the test on her own. She asks Hakuya to transform again, but he refuses her on the spot. Later during the PE period, Kobeni whines about lacking behind at sports. She asks Mashiro why Hakuya doesn't transform in front of her, and Mashiro explains that teenage boys have very sensitive feelings. Mayura joins them and reminds Kobeni that Valentine's Day is coming soon, due to which she should make preparations for Hakuya. The girls all head back to class, and Mashiro advises Kobeni to ask Hakuya what kind of chocolate he would like to eat, since he usually avoids eating sweets. After school, Kobeni approaches Hakuya to remind him about his cleaning duties. She finds him sleeping on his chair, and she starts to think that all of his habits remind her of a dog. She recalls Shirayuki's words and pats Hakuya's words lightly. He wakes up suddenly and falls backward while Kobeni runs away in embarrassment. Meanwhile, Binio stalks and pesters Mashiro as always, and even asks her to wear an outfit for her sake. Mashiro runs away from her and later confides in the girls that Binio is just another level of creep. Mayura asks Kobeni whether she asked Hakuya about his preferred chocolate, and just then, Hakuya approaches them. Kobeni tells him to head home without them and then drags all the girls away in a rush. She takes them to the market to shop for some chocolate for Valentine's Day. Mashiro learns that Mayura's family actually runs a confectionery shop which is pretty big and famous, and she also gets lured in by fancy marketing, due to which she ends up buying a lot of chocolate eggs that have surprise toys inside. She shows them to Hakuya when she is back at home and then takes out all the toys one by one like a little kid. Kobeni melts the chocolates to make new chocolate, and she wonders whether she is really going to get married to Hakuya. She thinks that her mom has always worked hard to raise the family, and Binio has a lot of prospects, which means that she has no other option but to marry him. Binio pops in the question and talks to her about the Valentine's Day chocolate. She confides in Binio about marrying Binio, and Binio starts yapping about seeing her in a white dress and marrying her off. She asks Kobeni what her dream was as a child, and Kobeni reveals that she wanted to become a housewife because she had always been good at cooking and house chores. Later, Binio wonders what she will do without Kobeni, and she jumps into Mashiro's room to tease her. The next day on Valentine's Day, Kobeni gives Akane and Mashiro chocolates right off the bat. Mashiro questions her whether she has given chocolates to Hakuya yet, and she urges her to give it to him since he doesn't know about Valentine's Day. Hakuya climbs down to meet them just then, and Kobeni becomes nervous on seeing him, so she runs away from the scene. When they reach school, Kobeni gives chocolates to Mayura next, who also gives her chocolates in return. Mayura also tells her to stop being so conscious and to just give the chocolate to Hakuya without overthinking it. Mashiro begins to tease her that she must see Hakuya as a man if she is overthinking about him so much. Kobeni becomes fed up with all the teasing and promises to feed Mashiro all the foods that she dislikes. Binio arrives with all her dramatics and gives Mashiro a huge package which is filled with chocolate eggs. Mashiro opens the package but discovers that Binio mistakenly bought the wrong product, which sours Binio's mood a lot. After school, Kobeni meets with Hakuya on the roof to give him chocolates. Before she can give it to him, she overhears a number of couples around them who have come to the roof to give chocolates to each other and say all kinds of cringe lovey-dovey things to one another. She becomes embarrassed and runs away from the scene. Hakuya learns that it's Valentine's Day, and he overhears some boys discussing that a girl hates the boy if she doesn't give chocolate to him. He heads to a park on his own and remains in a gloomy mood as he wonders whether Kobeni hates him or not. Meanwhile, Kobeni waits for him to arrive home, and she starts to think that maybe Hakuya doesn't even like chocolates. Hakuya arrives home, and Binio also appears with two huge towering cakes. Mayura arrives at their home and gives Mashiro a huge package which is filled with chocolate eggs so that she can complete her collective toys collection. Akira also arrives home and gives Kobeni her chocolates. Mayura then asks Hakuya whether Kobeni has given the chocolates to him yet, and that she has been conscious around him all day. Kobeni finally gives him the chocolates, which make him really happy, and Mashiro opens up all the packages one by one but fails to complete her toy collection. Binio then teases Mashiro and almost collapses on the cakes in all her excitement. Soon enough, Mashiro arranges her toy collection on a stand and feels proud about it like a little kid. Later at school, they all give their final exams together. Binio arrives at their class and invites them to the student council room for some snacks and tea. She makes a pitch to them that her secretary especially baked the snacks, and just then, her secretary Konoha arrives at the class too. She gives some papers to Binio and Binio compliments her hard work. She then heads back to her class but gives Mashiro a hard glare before leaving. In the past, Konoha had just arrived at the new city when she had gotten lost in the streets. She then found Binio, who showed her the way, and ever since then, she became a huge fan of Binio. She even went as far as to transfer to her school in order to stay right beside her. However, her Delulu world came crumbling down when she saw Binio walk to the school with Kobini. Presently, she tells herself that she can tolerate Kobini, however she cannot tolerate the midget Mashiro. She glares at Mashiro from behind the door and Mashiro becomes scared to see her. She points her out to Kobini, but Konoha disappears from sight, making Mashiro think that maybe she saw some kind of an alien. Konoha's friend Nico, who is in school journalism, approaches Konoha, and Konoha whines to her about Binio's relatives and how they get special treatment from Binio all the time. Nico suggests her to search some dirt on the relatives and convinces Konoha to find something to blackmail them. Later, Konoha approaches Kobini and tells her that she wants to do a special edition on her because she is Binio's sister. Kobini argues with her that she is a boring person who doesn't have any interesting qualities and convinces her not to write an article on her. Nico still asks her to let her do a profile piece on her and then hands her a bunch of questionnaires to be filled. When she is gone, Hakuya appears and asks Kobini whether she doesn't like being compared to Binio. She reveals that it doesn't bother her anymore, but they used to be compared a lot in the past. They then notice that the questions on Nico's questionnaire are downright very creepy. Nico approaches Mashiro next and takes her picture. She then points out that Binio and she seem really close and asks her what their relationship is, which shocks Mashiro to death. Mashiro declares that they don't have any kind of relationship, and Konoha overhears the entire ruckus. She realizes that things can get out of hand quickly and that Binio can even fire her if she learns that Konoha was investigating her relatives. She drags Nico outside and tells her to stop investigating Binio's relatives. Nico assures her that she will be secretive about her mission and then rushes away without listening to her. Later, Hakuya is following around Kobini like a little dog when Nico spots the two of them and decides to take their picture. Konoha confronts her again and begs her to stop her investigation. Nico points out that it's suspicious that Mashiro is studying among them despite being a kid and that no one is batting an eye on her presence. Her statement confuses Konoha as well, and just then, Hakuya appears and snatches Nico's phone away from her. He tells her to stop bothering Kobini and Mashiro and then tries to delete their photos on the camera but doesn't know how to operate it. He then throws the camera back to Nico and heads back after warning Nico once more. Later, Kobini's class receives the results of their maths test back, and it turns out that Hakuya has failed the test. Mashiro explains to Kobini that Hakuya doesn't do well in subjects that require him to use his actual brain. She suggests her to give Hakuya some lessons, and Mayura also joins them. They all do a group study session at the library after school, and Kobini teaches them how to use their brains. At the same time, Nico keeps an eye on them and thinks that Kobini is definitely smart just like her sister. Meanwhile, Binio does her usual student council work, but she keeps sighing, which makes Konoha worried for her. She wonders whether Binio is worried about something, while Binio thinks about how she hasn't gotten her hands on her little sister for a while. Just then, Nico sends Konoha a picture of Kobini's study session. Mashiro decides to use the washroom, but she is too scared to go due to a school horror story she read a while ago. Kobini advises her to ignore the story, and Mashiro heads to the washroom with trembling legs. Nico keeps spying on her, and Mashiro ends up in the hallway, which seems very spooky to her. She shuts her eyes and sprints to the end of the hall, while Nico thinks that Mashiro is running after her, so she runs to the washroom to get away from her. She shuts herself inside one of the stalls and her side starts to hurt, which makes her groan in pain. Mashiro enters the washroom just then and hears all the groaning noises, which spook her out, and she runs away in fear. She notices Konoha on the way, and her silhouette scares her even more, so she calls Konoha a monster and runs away in tears. Konoha becomes triggered on being called a monster, and she starts scolding her for saying such things. Her country accent comes out, and just then, Kobini hears her yapping when she is passing up. The next day, Hakuya and Mayura have to give up exams for failing at the test last time. Mashiro explains to Kobini that she actually cheated in the test by using hypnosis, and Hakuya tells her that he can also use his powers in the similar way, but he doesn't like cheating. Konoha also arrives at the school worried that Binio must hate her now for using a country accent and stalking her relatives. Meanwhile, Binio stalks Mashiro in her class and even offers to accompany her to the washroom. Mashiro then heads to the washroom with her, and Konoha spots the two of them together. She becomes very jealous and sprouts some curses at Mashiro in her country accent, which Kobini overhears once again. Mashiro disappears before Binio can spot her, and Binio decides to head back to the council room. After school, Kobeni and Mashiro head back together and Kobeni advises her to just bear Binio's fanatics. Konoha stalks the two of them and Kobeni spots her once again, so she stops and asks her whether she needs anything. Konoha blurts out without thinking that she wants to talk to Mashiro, and Mashiro approaches her to hear her out. She senses a similar smell on her and asks Konoha whether she is from the mountains. Konoha becomes offended at the question and she tells Mashiro to not talk rudely with Binio. Mashiro becomes triggered as always and tells her that Binio always pesters her by forcing her to do different kinds of things with her. Konoha thinks that she is bragging about Binio and both girls start arguing with one another. Finally Konoha storms away and Mashiro tells Kobeni that Konoha is actually the same species as them. Hakuya reveals that he knew about her real identity as well and that her identity doesn't matter to him. Konoha runs into Nico, and as she is telling Nico about her argument with Mashiro, she recalls how Mashiro has blended herself in the class without anyone noticing. She realizes that Mashiro and Hakuya are actually not human, just like her, which surprises her a lot. Later at home, Kobeni confronts Mashiro again about Konoha's identity and Mashiro explains to her that there are very few inhuman creatures like them, but it's possible that Konoha belongs to a separate group. Kobeni learns that such creatures prefer staying in the mountains, but due to their decreasing population, a lot of them come to the cities to live a different kind of life. Afterwards, Binio confronts her and inquires what she is talking about with Mashiro. Kobeni thinks that it may become awkward between Binio and Konoha if she tells her about Konoha's identity, so she decides to keep it a secret from her. She tells Binio that it's a secret, which shocks Binio to no end since she didn't think Kobeni was capable of keeping a secret from her. She thinks that Kobeni is in her rebellious phase and then tells Mashiro to heal her wounds. Mashiro then tells her about her fight with Konoha and Binio teases her that both girls must be fighting for her love. The next morning, Konoha attends her PE school, and as she is doing her usual jumps, she wonders whether Kobeni has told Binio everything about her. She ends up making too many jumps and Nico snaps her out of her Delulu land. After class, she tells Konoha that she is going to continue her investigation and is going to get the questionnaire back from Kobeni. Konoha suggests her to write another article and to forget Kobeni, but just then, Nico gives her a bunch of Binio's pictures which shuts her up. She then heads back to class and Kobeni spots Konoha in the hallway. She quickly approaches her and tells her that she won't tell anyone her secret, before rushing back to her class. Konoha comes to a conclusion that Kobeni must be talking about her random outbursts and country accent and that she probably wants to blackmail her. Kobeni tells Mashiro and Hakuya that they should keep Konoha's identity a secret since Shirayuki also instructed them to hide it. Meanwhile, Binio eats off Kashima's brain as she yaps about how Kobeni is keeping a secret from her. Kashima advises her to just ask Kobeni directly, but Binio doesn't want to force Kobeni regarding anything. She brainstorms potential ideas and Kashima suggests that maybe Kobeni has a secret about a boy. Binio wonders whether she has crossed the line with Hakuya and held his hand without telling her. Kashima advises her that Kobeni is bound to have some secrets from her one day or another and that she should just let her live her life. This idea makes Binio even more gloomy and she becomes engrossed as she wonders what kind of secret Kobeni is keeping from her. Konoha arrives at the council room just then and becomes freaked out to see Binio's condition. Kashima assures her that Binio is just having an existential crisis, which makes Konoha think that Binio must be some kind of an enlightened person. Kobeni and her mini-gang go to eat some desserts after school after getting the news that they have all passed their makeup exams. Mashiro buys a bean-filled bun after thinking for an eternity and Kobeni also buys a bun, but she thinks that it's filled with too many calories. She shares half of her bun with Hakuya, who gladly takes it, and Mayura teases the both of them. Suddenly Nico appears behind them and asks Kobeni whether she has filled the questionnaire. Kobeni reveals that she hasn't done it yet and Nico heads back after hearing her answer. The group goes to the mall to do some shopping and Kobeni tries out some pants, but they don't fit her properly. Nico stalks all of them to the shop and notes down that Kobeni has big cheeks which she doesn't like. Hakuya appears before her and tells her to stop writing about Kobeni. She also overhears his confrontation and Mayura then bluntly tells Nico that Kobeni doesn't like any articles written about her. Nico apologizes to them and rushes out of the store. The next day at school, Kobeni advises Mashiro to get along with Konoha since they both have the same species, but Mashiro doesn't think it's possible. Konoha decides to find out whether Mashiro and Hakuya are really the same as hers, and she starts thinking up wild ideas that the siblings must be taking advantage of Binio somehow. Mayura spots her outside her class, and when she heads inside, she tells Kobeni that she saw Konoha in the hallway. Kobeni then heads out to talk to her and Konoha trips in the hallway, due to which a number of Binio's pictures in her pocket get scattered on the floor. Mashiro spots the pictures as well, which creeps her out, and Konoha tells Mashiro that she wants to talk to her. They both head to the roof together to have their adult talk and Hakuya follows them. Kobeni warns him that they both wanted to talk to each other alone and he assures her that he will stay out of sight. Mashiro and Konoha race each other to the roof to beat the other one up and Binio spots their dramatics midway. She tries following them to the roof but Kashima drags her away to do her work. Finally Mashiro and Konoha face each other on the roof under windy weather while Binio tries to get away from Kashima to spy on them. Mashiro and Konoha throw words at each other but the wind drowns their voices and they decide to move somewhere else to talk it out. They both jump down the roof and land on the ground. A second later, Binio storms on the roof but doesn't find anyone there, which surprises her. Konoha realizes that she and Mashiro are definitely from the same species and she asks Mashiro why she is sneaking into Binio's house. Kobeni becomes worried for Mashiro and decides to check up on them even though Mashiro had earlier told her not to follow her. She then comes across Binio in the hallway who asks her what's going on between Mashiro and Konoha. Kobeni decides to keep their identities a secret and so she tells her that it's none of her business. She then rushes away to find Mashiro, leaving behind Binio in a gravely injured state. Kobeni arrives at the roof and doesn't find anyone there, but she then peeks over the edge and spots Mashiro crying in front of Konoha. Hakuya arrives at the scene just then and discovers Mashiro crying as well. Mashiro jumps on him and he offers her some chocolate which calms her down. He then confronts Konoha and clears the misunderstanding with her that they both have not come to the city for Binio. Konoha finally calms down as well and she jumps around Hakuya to take a good look at him. Kobeni also arrives at the scene and overhears Konoha telling Hakuya that males like him are really rare among their species, due to which he should marry her instead. Kobeni cannot believe her ears and just then, she trips on her feet which exposes her locations. She quickly declares that she didn't overhear anything about marriage and then runs away from the scene. When Hakuya tries to run after her, Konoha stops him and Hakuya tells her to explain her reasoning in 100 words. Konoha begins to think of her reply and Hakuya uses this chance to run after Kobeni. Mashiro then tells Konoha that Kobeni and Hakuya are actually engaged, which makes Konoha think that Binio and Kobeni may belong to her species. She becomes ecstatic to think that Binio is the same as her and asks Mashiro whether Binio also has the same species as her. Mashiro reveals that Binio and Kobeni are normal humans and that their family has reasons to arrange the engagement even though they both do not belong to the same species. Konoha starts whining that her mom told her to call dibs on a male member of their species if she ever comes across one, and Mashiro teases her that she doesn't care. Kobeni runs away from the scene like a damsel in distress and Hakuya stops her. He asks her whether she is alright after tripping like that and she reminds him that he was having an important talk with Konoha. He reminds her that they both are already engaged and just then, Nico appears between them. She overhears the engagement comment and asks Hakuya who is engaged, and he recalls that Kobeni strictly told him to never tell anyone about the engagement, so he lies to her that he was talking about something else. She then asks him whether he and Kobeni are dating and he quickly corrects her that they are not dating. He then tells Nico to ask Konoha whatever questions she has and she rushes away to find Konoha. Kobeni feels hurt that Hakuya outright refused when he heard about their dating and he asks her whether he gave her the right answers since she told him to never reveal their secret to anyone. She realizes that he was only following her directions and feels selfish for being so hurt. Later they all head back to school and Mashiro tells Kobeni that Konoha only confronted her to ask about Binio. Meanwhile, Binio stalks all of them to learn about their secret, but she is unable to understand what they are saying. Nico finds Konoha and asks her what she was talking about with Hakuya. She explains that Hakuya told her that he and Kobeni weren't dating one another, and Konoha begins to think that maybe Hakuya and Kobeni are both against the engagement but they have been forced into an arranged marriage. She thinks that she has got a chance at clapping Hakuya and then runs away to form her plan. Later at home, Kobeni wonders whether Konoha actually likes Hakuya and the thought upsets her. Binio appears behind Mashiro and asks her about her confrontation with Konoha. Mashiro recalls all the humiliation she had to face because of Binio and she scolds Binio for putting her into such a mess. Binio declares that she will take responsibility for everything and teasingly asks Mashiro to marry her. Mashiro becomes shocked and storms away in anger. Binio then asks Kobeni about the confrontation and Kobeni tells her that a lot of people get jealous over her closeness with Mashiro, due to which she should take care of the people she affiliates with. Binio realizes that Konoha must be jealous and starts to fangirl about the whole situation. The next morning, Kobeni makes plans to do some shopping after school. As they all walk toward school, Mashiro reveals that she already told Konoha about the engagement and Kobeni begins to panic since she thinks that people will spread rumors about her now and will call her out. She decides to reach out to Konoha to tell her to keep it a secret, and just then Konoha appears on the way. She declares that she is not giving up and then storms away, leaving Mashiro to think that maybe she was talking about Binio. After they arrive, Kobini keeps thinking whether Konoha actually likes Hakuya, and Mashiro notices her upset mood. She asks her whether she is afraid of her secret spreading around and suggests that she can always force Konoha to not tell anyone else her secret. She devises a plan that they should show Konoha some bad pictures of Binio which will stop her fangirl era and show her the reality about Binio. Although it doesn't make sense, Mashiro then runs off to take Binio's pictures, leaving Kobini to think that she should simply ask Konoha to not tell anyone her secret. Meanwhile, Binio walks through the hallway and a bunch of students surround her to greet her. Mashiro tries taking her pictures but they all turn out to be very good. Konoha spots her taking pictures and believes that Mashiro was definitely lying about disliking Binio after all. Kobini then approaches Konoha and informs her that she needs to talk to her about something. Kashima spots Mashiro taking Binio's pictures and Mashiro runs away from the crime scene before she can be exposed. Binio also senses Mashiro's presence nearby and she runs to the other hall only to come across Kashima, who is utterly uninterested in her. Kobini asks Konoha to not tell anyone about her engagement with Hakuya, and Konoha deduces from her request that she must hate her engagement a lot if she is not willing to tell anyone about it. She advises Kobini to just break the engagement off and to spare Hakuya from the ordeal as well. Kobini begins to think that she is being very selfish by making such requests and starts crying. Konoha panics on seeing her tears and Binio also spots Kobini crying. Konoha thinks that her career as Binio's fangirl is definitely over since Binio is not going to think that she made her sister cry, but Binio ignores her existence and only approaches Kobini. She asks her what's wrong with her and Kobini lies to her that some dust got in her eye. Binio then notices Konoha and tells her to take care of Kobini as well as Mashiro since both girls are really dear to her. Konoha agrees without thinking and Binio then takes Kobini away. They both come across Hakuya next, who notices that Kobini has been crying and vows to kill off any dust that got in her eye. Mashiro spots all of them together and takes Binio's pictures once again. Binio catches her in the act and checks her mobile phone to discover her pictures. Mashiro tries explaining to her that she wasn't praising her by taking her pictures, but Binio is in another land thinking that she has just won in life. Later at home, Kobini makes cake for everyone and even packs a slice for Konoha as well. She gives one slice to Hakuya as well, who eats it on the spot and likes it a lot. She tells him that she doesn't mind being engaged to him and that she only wanted to hide the news about their engagement to avoid spreading any rumors. Mashiro declares that Kobini loves Hakuya now and that he has finally leveled up his game. He becomes shocked to hear her explanation and Binio then shoves him aside after overhearing everything. She tells him aggressively that she couldn't see him in the way and then storms off. Mashiro then advises Hakuya to show Kobini what kind of man he is by giving her a White Day gift. The next morning, Binio aggressively puts ketchup on her breakfast while Hakuya thinks of his White Day gift. Kobini wonders what's wrong with Binio and Mashiro declares that Binio is definitely jealous of the lovey-dovey relationship that Hakuya and Kobini have. Binio plays it cool like always and Kobini reminds her that she has already accepted her engagement, so she should be fine with other things as well. Binio declares that no one can be lovey-dovey with Kobini since she is her sister and that she won't let anyone else have her. Mashiro calls her a spoiled kid and Binio notices Hakuya's blunt expression, which pisses her off even more. She confronts him and declares that she accepts their engagement, but she is still mad at him. She then storms outside while Hakuya wonders what she meant to say to her. Kobini also wonders why Binio is acting out and Mashiro reminds her that she has confessed her love to Hakuya by telling him that their engagement doesn't bother her anymore. Kobini assures her that she never meant to confess her love to Hakuya and remains worried about Binio. As they all head towards their school, Mashiro pesters Hakuya to buy a White Day gift as soon as possible. He keeps hearing Kobini's words saying that she never told him that she loved him. Mashiro declares that Hakuya and Kobini should be more lovey-dovey towards one another and she grabs each one of their hands, which makes her look like a little kid who is holding her parents' hands. Konoha then comes across all of them and Kobini tells her that she wants to talk to her about something. Later at school, Kobini gives her a slice of cake and explains to her that she doesn't like standing out, due to which she wants the news of her engagement to remain a secret. Konoha realizes that she actually doesn't dislike being engaged and feels a sense of loss at losing Hakuya so quickly. She then heads to the council room where she prepares herself to face Binio. However, she enters the room only to find Binio snarling curses outside the window. She asks Kashima what Binio is doing and Kashima lies to her that she is doing some soul searching rather than telling her that she is worried about her sister's romantic life. Konoha becomes even more of a fangirl and Kashima offers her some tea, which makes her recall the cake that Kobini gave to her. She takes out the cake and Binio instantly senses that it's the cake that was made by Kobini, like some kind of trained dog. She thanks Konoha for taking care of her sister and they all sit down to have some tea and cake. Meanwhile, Mashiro tells Mayura that Hakuya and Kobini's relationship has leveled up and Mayura congratulates him for finally ditching the NPC status. He wonders whether they have become an official couple now and Kobini walks in to hear them talk about her wifely status. She explains to them that she was just apologizing to Hakuya for hiding the news about their engagement and was not trying to act lovey-dovey with them. Mashiro still teases her endlessly and she and Mayura then leave the two of them. Hakuya and Kobini walk home together and Hakuya asks her whether he can send her text messages from time to time. She agrees and he sends her a cute emoji just then like a proper simp. Binio watches their interaction from the window and realizes that Mashiro must be walking home alone if she isn't with them. She gets the juice of her life thinking about Mashiro and then jumps down from the second floor with full energy. She asks them where Mashiro is and suddenly Mashiro kicks them from behind as she blames them for interfering in the lovebirds' romance. Kobini realizes that the both of them were spying on her and gives them an earful. The next day, Nico approaches Konoha again and asks her whether she has any news regarding Kobini that she can publish. Konoha decides to act clever and shares some facts about Kobini which aren't newsworthy but which can be put in an article. Soon Nico publishes her article and it gains the attention of the students. The article mainly features Binio and gives little details about Kobini. Binio comes across the article as well and decides to cut it out to preserve it forever, however Kashima stops her from committing such a sin. Konoha overhears their conversation and wonders whether she did the right thing or not. Later at home, Kobini asks Mashiro whether Konoha likes Hakuya or not and Mashiro explains to her that Konoha was only after Hakuya because they are both from the same species. She explains that Konoha's mom told her to call dibs on any guy from their species and that Kobini shouldn't care about such matters since she has half of their powers. Kobini feels stunned to learn this and Mashiro explains that Hakuya gave half of his powers to her when he saved her. Kobini wonders whether she can use their powers as well but Mashiro doesn't think she can use them. Mashiro then prompts her to do more romantic things with Hakuya like wearing matching clothes. Binio appears at the scene and declares that she has won, making Kobini think that maybe she heard about Konoha not being a human. Binio explains that she heard about the matching outfits and that she has already won because she has already worn matching outfits with Kobini in the past. She even flexes to Hakuya about her self-claimed success and declares that she is going to get matching day outfits for Mashiro and herself next. Mashiro advises Hakuya to get matching outfits as a White Day gift and Binio teases her that she should gift her matching outfits as well. Mashiro suggests him to buy some sort of matching sweaters and scarves and Kobini assures Hakuya that she doesn't need any gift. The next day, Hakuya looks up ideas about matching outfits on the internet and then heads to the market on his own to search for a gift. He strolls through the market and ends up at a jewelry stand. Mashiro and Kobini also stroll through the market and Mashiro tells Kobini that Hakuya must have gone to buy a gift for her. She believes that Binio has stirred him up a lot and that he wants to buy something to symbolize their relationship. Hakuya doesn't buy anything and as he is heading back, he runs into Kobini. She gives him a handkerchief set as a gift and tells him to keep it a secret from the others to avoid Binio from freaking out. Just then, Binio appears behind him and demands to know what secret she is keeping. She acts like the lord of the drama club and Mashiro also spots the gift in Hakuya's hand so she asks him what it is. Hakuya tells her that it's a secret and Kobini then gives Mashiro and Binio a handkerchief set as well as a gift. Later at home, Mashiro pumps Hakuya to buy a bigger gift for Kobini now, since she has already given him 2 gifts. That same night, Kobini finds Binio sniffing her handkerchief like a convicted creep. Binio informs her that she read the published article about her and even shows her a copy of the article. She declares that the article did not write enough praises about it but then changes her mind because she thinks that Kobini will get the wrong kind of attention if too many people get to know about her. At the other room, Mashiro shows off her handkerchief to Hakuya and Hakuya also rejoices silently since he knows that Kobini gave him a matching handkerchief. The next day, Nico tells Konoha that her senior has told her to stop writing about Kobini but she declares that she won't give in to the pressure and will continue to write about her. On the other hand, Mayura notices that Hakuya looks really stressed about the White Day present and she advises him to just give any present that he wants without thinking too much about it. After school, Mashiro runs off to do a task on her own and tells the others to head back home without her. Kobini and Hakuya head home together and they walk in silence without saying anything. They stop at a traffic signal and Kobini asks Hakuya whether his bangs bother him, just to talk about something. He reveals that he is used to his bangs and she comments that she likes the bangs. Meanwhile, Mashiro heads to the mall to buy Kobini a gift but she becomes distracted and just ends up buying a lot of chocolate eggs. She then notices that no one is around and decides to use her powers to head back home. She jumps from one house to another and stops at a house for a moment, only to come across Nico, who notices her presence as well. Mashiro panics suddenly and jumps away to avoid exposing her secret. Nico believes that she saw some kind of flying humanoid, while Mashiro breathes a sigh of relief. Later at home, Mashiro informs Kobeni about the incident and gets a scolding from her. Hakuya also hears about the incident and calls her a bad girl, which makes Mashiro start crying. She runs away to her room crying, and Binio runs to the scene to learn about what happened. Kobeni tells her that Hakuya got a little mad at Mashiro, which made her cry, and Binio wonders whether she can take advantage of Mashiro now. Later, Mashiro apologizes to Binio for making such a blunder and promises to take care in the future. The next day, the students all get their results back, and Mashiro performs even worse than what she expected. Mayura's grades improve due to Kobeni's tutoring, and she notices that Hakuya still looks troubled because he still cannot think of a gift for Kobeni. Meanwhile, Nico rushes to meet with Konoha and tell her that she saw a flying humanoid the other day. Konoha wonders whether she saw Mashiro use her powers, and Nico then runs off to follow her lead. She runs straight into Hakuya and tells him that she isn't interested in Kobeni anymore because she has found a much better story. She then runs away again, leaving Hakuya to wonder what kind of story she got her hands on. He spots Kobeni just then and tells her that she is still the best without telling her any context. Konoha also overhears their conversation and realizes that the two of them are really close. Hakuya tells her that she really bothered them a lot before, and Konoha declares that she only loves Binio before storming off. Mashiro then appears and suggests Kobeni and Hakuya go on a date to increase their cringe love. Later that night, Kobeni makes dinner for everyone and asks Mashiro where she wants to go. Mashiro argues with her that the both of them should go to their date alone, but Kobeni thinks that Mashiro will enjoy strolling around the town. Hakuya also informs Mashiro that Kobeni would never be alone at home by herself and convinces her to go with them. The next morning, Kobeni informs Binio that they are all going to go and watch a movie, and she starts whining that they cannot have fun without her. Mashiro teases her that Hakuya is taking Kobeni to watch a movie as his White Day gift, and Binio declares that she is not going to let them go at any cost. Kashima arrives at the door to take Binio away for volunteer work and then storms inside the house when no one answers the door. She drags Binio away with her while Binio protests loudly about their date. They all head out on their date and watch a kid movie about an alien who abducts a kid. Mashiro excitedly watches the whole movie while Hakuya sleeps through it. After the movie, Mashiro and Kobeni discuss the movie plot while Hakuya returns to the real world. Meanwhile, Binio heads to the bazaar to make some arrangements with Kashima and Konoha. They notice that she seems pretty down while Binio thinks about how Kobeni is going on her first date without her. Soon they arrive at the site to help arrange a kindergarten bazaar, and some kids also notice that Binio seems upset. They approach her to ask her whether she is alright, and she assures them that she is alright. Kobeni and the siblings eat at a restaurant and then spend their time at an amusement park. They even stop at a place filled with flowers, and Mashiro tells Kobeni that their house has a lot of flowers and vegetables as well, which only grow in those specific mountains. Kobeni wishes to see such vegetables so that she can make different kinds of food with them. As they are heading home, the wind picks up speed while Hakuya and Kobeni discuss that their visit outside seems more like an outing rather than a date. Mashiro apologizes to them for dragging them everywhere, and the wind picks up suddenly, which blows Hakuya's hair away from his face. Kobeni notices that one of his eyes has a scar on it, but when she asks him about it, Hakuya avoids giving her an answer. She realizes that he must have gotten the scar when he saved her, and he lies to her that he got the scar due to his own clumsiness. She tells him to stop lying for her sake, and he argues with her that he failed to do his duty, due to which she got hurt in the first place. Binio rushes to the scene and scolds Kobeni for being so late. She then demands to know whether they all had fun without her, and the topic of the scar gets forgotten in all the conversation. Later, when they are back at home, Kobeni makes dinner for everyone, and Mashiro advises her to forget about Hakuya's scar since he never wanted to bother her with the news. Afterwards, Mashiro informs Hakuya that she told their family about the news of his scar getting exposed. Suddenly an arrow comes flying inside, and Hakuya opens the letter attached with it. The next morning, Kobeni makes breakfast and goes to call Hakuya and Mashiro for breakfast, but she doesn't find them inside. She immediately rushes to inform Akane and Binio that Hakuya and Mashiro are gone along with all of their stuff. Akane wonders whether the siblings decided to head back home and assures her that they must have some urgent business back home, due to which they had to leave early. Afterwards, Kobeni does all the house chores by herself and misses the previous company she had. She then gets a text message from Hakuya telling her that he and Mashiro are going back to the mountains. Just then, Mayura calls her to ask her details about her date with Hakuya, and Kobeni calls her over to share the latest tea. When Mayura arrives at her house, she shares with her that the siblings aren't picking up her calls and that she doesn't know why they went back home. Mayura suggests going to their place if she is really worried, and Kobini believes that her own family might get really worried if she leaves suddenly. Mayura advises her to be selfish since Hakuya is her fiancé after all and convinces Kobini to go to the mountains by herself. Kobini quickly gets ready and rushes out of the house. She starts her travel, which will lead her to the mountains, and texts her family on the way that she will be back by the night after visiting Hakuya's house. Soon she arrives at the area near the mountains and starts to hike up the mountains to find their house. The sun begins to set as time passes by, and Kobini continues to make her way through the mountains to look for Hakuya. Meanwhile, Mashiro and Hakuya pick up some edible plants side by side together. It turns out that Mashiro had the idea to pick up wild plants that only grow in the mountains, to gift it to Kobini, and when she shared it with Shirayuki, she called them back. The siblings decide to head back, but suddenly Hakuya stops and comments that he heard Kobini's voice. Mashiro reminds him that Kobini must be back at home, but Hakuya's ears perk up and he runs away into the forest. Kobini ventures into an area filled with snow, and as the weather continues to get worse, she finds a cave to rest at. She wonders what she is going to do, and just then, Hakuya jumps in front of the cave. Mashiro also joins Hakuya and asks her what she is doing in the mountains, so Kobini reminds her that she came to look for the both of them after they abruptly left her house. Mashiro informs her that they came back to collect some wild plants and to show Shirayuki their report cards. Kobini wonders why they took back all their stuff as well, and Mashiro explains that they needed to change their clothes and had to keep their old books in the mountains so that they could buy books for the new term. Kobini shows her the simple text that Hakuya sent her, and Mashiro scolds him for being so vague. Kobini realizes that Hakuya never received the text message that she sent him, while the siblings come to a realization that she was really worried about them. Suddenly Kobini starts to feel faint and collapses on the ground. The snowstorm picks up outside, and Hakuya builds a fire in the cave to warm up Kobini. He thinks that she will freeze in the weather if he carries her back, and after telling Mashiro to look after her, he heads back to his house to call for help. He rushes through the forest while Kobini's condition becomes worse. Mashiro notices the fire dying out, and when the snowstorm becomes lighter, she runs out into the forest to search for more firewood. Kobini thinks about how everyone leaves her eventually and how she had to resort to doing housework because she wasn't smart like Akane or Binio. She thinks that everyone always tries to protect her, just like how Hakuya tried to protect her feelings by not telling her about his scar. She thinks that Hakuya and Mashiro will eventually leave her too, so she gets up and walks out of the cave to search for them in a daze. After a while, Mashiro returns with the wood and does not find Kobini inside the cave. Hakuya also returns with his family members just then and discovers that Kobini is gone. They all start to look for Kobini, and meanwhile, Kobini wakes up on a hill. As Hakuya's family members continue their search, Mashiro begins to whine that it's her fault in case Kobini doesn't get found. Hakuya blames himself for not returning to the cave sooner, and Shirayuki calms both of them down as she instructs them to look for footsteps or some kind of trail. Kobini gets up as she wonders how she got so far and then steps back without thinking. Since she is at the edge of the cliff, the snow collapses from underneath her feet and she tumbles down. Hakuya rushes towards her using all his powers and manages to grab her just in time. After he pulls her up, he gives her a hot drink to warm herself up, and she asks him whether he saved her the same way last time as well. She also asks him about Mashiro, and he shares that the others are still looking for her, making her realize that she made everyone really worried for her. He then picks her up and carries her to the forest while she questions him why he hid his scar from her. He reveals that he didn't want to bother her, and she tells him that he shouldn't have hid something important from her. She reminds him that they are engaged, and he apologizes to her. He then reveals that his eye isn't fully blind, but still he is used to hiding it now, and she apologizes to him, which makes him comment that it's not her fault. They both meet up with Mashiro and the rest of his family members, who rejoice at finally finding her. Suddenly a helicopter appears behind them and Binio jumps down via a staircase. Shirayuki reveals that she called Kobini's family to let them know that she was missing, and Binio reveals that they used Mayura's family helicopter to rush to the scene. She immediately asks whether Mashiro and Kobini are alright and whether she should jump down to warn them. The next day, they all head back to their house via train, and Binio asks Kobini what she did when she spent some time alone with Hakuya. Kobini doesn't tell her anything, and Binio becomes even more pissed to see Hakuya's smug face. Soon enough, normal life resumes at Kobini's house as the new term begins, and Akane bids all the kids goodbye when they head to school. Kobini and all her friends end up in the same class, and Kobini wonders whether Mashiro used her powers again to transfer to her class. Nico launches an investigation to find the flying humanoid and even plasters a poster on the school board to find any clues. Konoha asks Mashiro whether she was the flying humanoid that Nico saw, and both girls start to bicker with one another. Meanwhile, Binio thinks that Nico should divert her attention to more important topics like the topics of having little sisters. Later that night, Shirayuki visits their house with some wild plants and Kobini invites everyone to dinner including Kashima. They all eat dinner together and Hakuya tells Kobini that anything she makes is really good. That's all for today, my fellow men of culture. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to like and subscribe the channel for more anime recaps.